On a rain-soaked night in the autumn of 1926, beneath the cobblestones of Mulberry Street, the city kept its favorite secret. There was no sign above the door, no number on the wall. Just a velvet curtain behind a barber shop, a narrow staircase descending into the dark, and the distant pulse of a piano playing something slow and sad. They called it the Velvet Door, and if you knew the password, you could drink until the world above forgot you existed. Inside, the air was thick with cigarette smoke and cheap perfume, and the kind of laughter that only comes after midnight. At the center of it all stood Clara Malone, the speakeasy's star singer, wrapped in gold sequins and a voice that could make a grown man weep into his whiskey. Clara had a gift, not just for music, but for making people tell her things they shouldn't. Secrets were her currency, and tonight she was richer than anyone in the room. Clara finished her last set to the sound of clinking glasses and scattered applause. She took a small bow, blew a kiss to the crowd, and disappeared behind the stage curtain. 15 minutes later, the bartender found her in the back hallway, slumped against the wall beside the telephone, a champagne coupe shattered on the floor beside her. Her lips were blue, her eyes were open, and the gardenia in her hair was still perfectly in place. Clara Malone had sung her last song. Dominic Ferraro locked the doors himself. The speakeasy owner stood at the top of the stairs, blocking the only way out, his gold pocket watch glinting in the candlelight. "No police," he said. "Not here, not ever. If someone in this room killed Clara, we settle it ourselves." Jack Brennan, the private investigator who came for the bourbon and stayed for the music, set down his glass. He'd seen a lot of bad endings in his line of work, but something about the way Clara died, the precision of it, the theatricality, told him this wasn't a crime of passion. This was planned. Jack started with Dominic himself. The speakeasy owner confessed that Clara had been blackmailing him. She'd discovered he was skimming profits from his bootlegging partners, men who solved business disputes with bullets. Tommy Callahan, the young bootlegger, admitted he and Clara had been seeing each other in secret. But lately she'd grown cold, and he'd found love letters in her dressing room. Letters that weren't from him. Pearl Washington, Clara's pianist and supposed best friend, said only that Clara was not the woman everyone thought she was. When pressed, she looked away and said nothing more. Jack examined the shattered champagne glass. A faint residue clung to the inside, something oily, something that didn't belong. Poison. Someone had laced Clara's drink before she left the stage. The bartender swore he'd poured the champagne himself from a fresh bottle. But he remembered one thing. A woman had come to the bar just before Clara's last song and asked him to add a twist of lemon to Clara's usual glass. He couldn't remember her face, only her perfume. Something expensive, something French. In Clara's dressing room, barely more than a curtained alcove behind the stage, Jack found the love letters Tommy had mentioned. They were written on cream paper, unsigned, in elegant handwriting. But hidden beneath them, Jack discovered something else, a leather notebook, Clara's private ledger. Inside were names, dates, and dollar amounts. Clara hadn't just been collecting secrets for fun, she'd been selling them. And one entry, circled in red ink, read simply, VA, 10,000, final payment due tonight. The initials pointed to one person, Vivian Ashworth, the socialite who occupied the best booth every Friday night. But before Jack could reach her, Tommy Callahan lost his temper. He accused Dominic of killing Clara to protect his bootlegging secrets. A fistfight broke out near the bar. Bottles shattered, tables overturned, and in the chaos Jack noticed something no one else did. Pearl Washington, quiet Pearl who had said so little, was calmly wiping down the piano keys with a handkerchief, as if cleaning something away. Jack pulled them together at the bar, 4 suspects, 1 dead woman, and a room full of secrets. He laid it all out. The blackmail ledger, the poison, the love letters, the French perfume. Tommy had motive, jealousy. Dominic had motive, self-preservation. Pearl had opportunity. She was the last person backstage before Clara took the stage. But the initials in Clara's book pointed somewhere else entirely. Jack turned to the woman in diamonds, sitting perfectly still in her booth, champagne untouched. Vivian. What was Clara selling you? Vivian Ashworth's composure cracked like thin ice. Clara had discovered that Vivian's fortune, the diamonds, the furs, the penthouse on Park Avenue, was built on fraud. Her late husband's will was forged. The inheritance was stolen. Clara had been bleeding her dry for months, and tonight she'd demanded the final payment, $10,000, or she'd go to the papers. Vivian admitted she'd come to the speakeasy with poison in her clutch bag. She'd asked the bartender to garnish Clara's champagne. She'd watched from her booth as Clara drank, and she'd felt nothing. They took Vivian out through the barbershop and into the rain. No sirens, no handcuffs, just Dominic's men and a car waiting at the curb. Jack Brennan never did find out what happened to her after that. He stood alone in the emptying speakeasy, rain drumming on the basement windows, the piano silent for the first time all night. Clara's gardenia lay wilted on the stage where she'd left it. The velvet door would open again tomorrow night. The music would play. The drinks would pour. But the voice that had made the whole room hold its breath, that was gone forever. Some doors, once closed, stay closed.